Could somebody please make it make sense?
Hi everybody, welcome to A Pop of Culture. I am your host, the Esoteric and Facetious, and this is A Pop of Culture. It's actually raining, so I'm gonna check, and hopefully this isn't in the audio, but I just had to record this video, so please bear with me if there's any audio problems or issues. There is probably going to be some, it's seeming like the rain is slowing down, so, we love that. We love to see and hear that, or not hear that, rather. But welcome to A Pop of Culture. I am your host, the Esoteric and Facetious, and this is A Pop of Culture, my video essay podcast where we speak on pop culture, social justice, and the human experience from a Blaque, bisexual, millennial perspective. And I didn't think we were going to get to, problematic tweet of the day, number 3, so quickly, but, here we are. So, I saw this tweet, and it made me so angry, and, we're going to get into it. I'm going to read it to y'all so y'all can give your thoughts. But I saw this tweet someone posted on their stories, and it says, "I'm not surprised that Breonna Taylor has stopped trending because I knew the public outrage was performative. But you know who hasn't moved on? Black people, because we still live with the possibility of being shot in our beds and then being forgotten." So, oh my goodness. Like, when I tell you the rage I've been feeling for some of this bull, I'm gonna just, I'm not gonna go too ham because, we don't want to get demonetized, even though we're not monetized, but we're not gonna try to, get this video canceled for foul language. But here's my thing. Here's what makes me angry. This idea of in this person, of course, they're a PhD because, I feel like, a lot of these academics, they love popping off on social media and acting as if they are the only ones who carry supreme knowledge. And I do think that education is important. Education is an asset. But I also feel like, some of these people are running rampant on Twitter, saying some foolish stuff. And it's like, all the years in school that you've been through, you would think that you'd have a little bit more sense than you do. But that's neither here nor there. But let's get into this tweet. So why am I so annoyed with this tweet? Here's the thing. Here's my thing. Everything has ebbs and flows. Everything has, peaks and valleys. Nothing is going to be popular forever. Nothing's going to be a trending topic forever. So here's my frustration. I personally get frustrated with people saying, why isn't Breonna Taylor not trending anymore? I mean, of course, the Breonna Taylor story is still important, and of course the cops need to be arrested, and, justice needs to be had. But here's my thing. Of course, when the situation was brought to the public eye, it was going to be trending. Of course, people's eyes were going to be on the situation. People were going to be tweeting about it and things of that nature. But my thing is, I call BS. For you to sit here and act like, unless Breonna Taylor's name is trending, if y'all listen to Britney Spears, y'all know what I'm talking about. But y'all, some of y'all act like, unless Breonna Taylor's name is trending on social media from now until Beyonce and Justin Timberlake, until the end of time, that somehow we've forgotten about her and she doesn't matter. And that's honestly more insulting to her legacy, because I'm like, obviously people care about Breonna Taylor. But here's the stuff that I don't like, and I'm going to try to, not have foul language. But she says, "I'm not surprised that Breonna Taylor has stopped trending because I knew the public outrage was performative." Here's what I cannot stand. Like I said, why is it that unless Breonna Taylor's name is trending, I'm sorry, but when a situation is brought to the public eye, it's going to trend, it's going to go viral. But other things happen, and I'm not saying that doesn't mean that Breonna Taylor's death doesn't matter. It does matter. Her murder does matter. But at the same time, as time progresses, other things are going to be trending topics. Other things are going to hit the news. Other things are going to happen. And to act as if and that's the thing that I can't stand. Because I feel like a lot of people are latching onto this one situation. And I think it's important to make sure that Breonna Taylor gets justice. But at the same time, it's kind of like, if you're making the same argument, it's like there's other black people, especially black women, who've been killed by the police, whose names we don't know, and who we don't even talk about like this. So it's kind of like, I feel like my issue is kind of like, well, what about, where was that? Like, if you're gonna say this whole stuff about, you know, this being performative and all this other type of stuff, then it's kind of like, if you were all about that, then why was your timeline before Breonna Taylor not filled with all this information about these other people? Because it's like, because I guess my issue is, it's like, if you want to say that people not talking about Breonna Taylor means that, you know, them talking about her initially was performative, then it's kind of like, well, for a lot of these people, you weren't talking about black women being killed by the police by name the way that you were talking about it with Breonna Taylor, because Breonna Taylor's situation brought it to life in a way that, you know, like Sandra Bland's situation brought it to life. Like, I guess my thing is, it's like, obviously Breonna Taylor's murder is something that's important and it's been brought to the public eye. But I guess for me, my issue and my concern is, it's like, for some people, it's never going to be enough unless, like I said, unless every channel turns off, you know, their programming and streams, you know, Breonna Taylor pictures. People are going to say it's not enough. And if the people do say it, like, that's my issue with a lot of this quote unquote social media activism. It's like, you know, if you do something, it's performative, but if you don't do anything, then, you know, you're a part of the problem, and this, that, and the third. And I guess, like I said, with the whole Breonna Taylor situation, I think it's tragic what happened to her. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of these people who are trying to call the stuff performative and call people performative, it's like y'all were going about your day tweeting about this pop culture stuff that has very little meaning. Y'all were tweeting about Insecure and all this other type of stuff and living your life before the situation happened was brought to your eyes. And you weren't sitting here, I guess that's my thing too. Like, I feel like there's this idea on social media that unless we are tweeting about dead black people, dead black trans women of color 25/8, that somehow we don't care. And I'm going to be real, I care about the Breonna Taylor situation, but logistically, tragically her life was cut short, but I have a life to live. I do have goals and dreams to accomplish. And like this idea that unless we're sitting here crying and singing Negro spirituals day in and day out, that we don't care, gets on my nerves. Let's go further into the tweet. Like, even just this whole idea that the public outrage was performative. And here's where I'm really going to go in. Is it really that unbelievable that people across the world could find the fact that an innocent black woman was murdered? Like, is it that unbelievable? Like, that's the thing that I can't stand. I'm not saying that white supremacy and racism don't exist. I'm not saying that there aren't racist people out there who don't care and who are going to find any excuse in the book to try to blame Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and other black people for what was done to them. But my thing is, it's like the whole, it was so performative. I'm going to be real and say, maybe it's just me being, you know, a young person who, you know, is idealistic and, you know, hopeful and all this other type of stuff. But my thing is, I think the average general person can recognize that this young woman shouldn't have been killed. And I don't think, and this whole idea that for people tweeting, like, because here's my thing, because that's my thing, that's the issue I have with a lot of this. Like, a lot of these people on social media, these social media activists, like, you know, it's like they get the decision, they get it to be the decider. And it's like, if you're not somebody who they vibe with, or if they don't feel what you're saying, or if they just, you know, if for whatever reason they're not feeling it, they can just label it performative. And my issue is just like I said, for me, like, my thing is, I'm all about, you know, the activism, but I guess my thing is, it's like, I don't like alienating people. Like, I mean, if you're problematic, if you're causing problems and issues, okay, I'm going to call you out. But my issue is, I feel like a lot of these social justice activists, it's like nothing is good enough for them. Like, if somebody tweets R.I.P. Breonna Taylor, oh, it's performative. What the bleep does performative mean? Because it's like, because I feel like that's my thing, because it's like, even if people are trying to get clout and build vanity metrics on social media and stuff, it's like, just because someone tweets about Breonna Taylor, like, do y'all not understand how social media and branding works? Just tweeting about Breonna Taylor, even if that gets you followers, that's not going to, those followers, if you're not always tweeting pro-black stuff, like, it's not all just about getting followers and engagement. It's about getting followers engaged and people who engage with the type of content you do. So even if people are doing quote unquote, and I guess my thing is, it's just like, one of those things where it's like quote unquote performative activism. Like, for example, there's this example, a really good example that I watched this YouTuber. Her channel's called Losing My Religion. She talks about ICOC and the International Churches of Christ, and how it's a cult and how it's problematic and hurtful and do. One of the things that she spoke on was pretty much this idea of people saying, the ICOC is like a cult, but it's not a cult, or the ICOC is a cult. And she was basically saying, whether it's a cult or it's like a cult, neither is good. And in the same way, I guess my thing is, with people labeling all this stuff performative and stuff, I guess for me, I'm gonna be real and say, I guess for me, I a lot of this stuff, it's what I call the fortune teller when it comes to people calling stuff performative and stuff and trying to knock down people's forms of activism and stuff. It's like people will say, it's like, I feel like my thing is, it's like very rarely do I think somebody has the knowledge on somebody else that they on the internet to say, oh, well, you really don't care about this, because it's like you're not a fortune teller, you're not a mind reader. And I feel like it's just disgusting, because that's the thing I don't get. It's like, don't you want people to respond? Don't you want people to support us? It's like it's like some of y'all really don't want us oh my gosh, I'm getting so emotional. And I'm like, but I'm gonna let it flow like Tony Braxton. But I really do feel like some of y'all don't want justice. Y'all don't want, because it's like, because you don't want justice. You want to be the smartest in the room. You want retweets and you want accolades and you want blue checkmark Twitter. Because just acknowledging the fact that people actually care about a black woman being murdered or a black man being murdered isn't good enough for you. You don't want that. You don't want black people. You don't want us to be liberated, because if you wanted us to be liberated, then you would try to welcome people in. But some of y'all are so quick to push people out. Nobody's good enough for you. I'm not good enough for you. Nobody's activism is good enough for you. And you know what? Y'all can keep that. Y'all can keep that energy, because y'all can keep making these tweets about stuff not being, because it's like performative. It's just like, y'all don't want people to care about Breonna Taylor, because that's too easy. That's too simple. White people caring about, y'all don't want that to happen, because if these white people actually care about Breonna Taylor, and they're actually trying to help us and help us to progress and stuff, then it's like hold up, then you can't, there's less to tweet about, because there's less angry tweets and stuff, because now you got to get off your behind and do something. You can't just tweet about it anymore. You've got to mobilize and actually do something. I think that's something that we really need to unpack. I think a lot of black people are going to continuously label stuff performative and not good enough, because as long as they do that they can stay on the social medias, and that's all they do. And I'm not saying that's all everybody does, but I really feel like some black people don't want us to have to actually progress, because, like I said, they've built a brand off of this struggle porn, where basically, where nothing's good enough. This candidate's not good enough. And I'm not saying we can't critique people, but it's just like, this candidate isn't good enough. This actor, this performer, this person's performative, this person's, sold out, this person's a coon. Nothing's good enough except for these people themselves. And of course, when they get the accolades and stuff, and when they start getting attention and stuff, everything's justified and everything's good. But let's read the rest of it. But who hasn't moved on? Black people. Because black people are the only people who can have empathy. Black people are the only people who can have empathy and sympathy for other people. As if people of other races didn't help within the civil rights movement, or within abolition and the Underground Railroad and stuff. As if we've done all this alone, But because we still live in the possibility of being shot in our beds and then being forgotten. Who has forgotten Breonna Taylor? Her name has been trending throughout this entire year. Her face has been on billboards. Who has forgotten her? Y'all want to push these agendas, and I'm not even going to use the word agendas because I know there's so many things, but y'all want to push these ideas that keep us angry. And honestly, I wonder who all this stuff is coming from. But it's like, y'all want people to be angry. You want us to like these angry, pithy retweets and all this other type of stuff. And that's the thing that gets me with these problematic tweets. People care about Breonna Taylor, but in Twitter reality world, in Twitter land, if that's not good enough. People caring about Breonna Taylor despite their race, that's not good enough, because I feel like a lot of this social media activism has to get you angry, and has to get you angry so you'll like and retweet and engage with the content, because that is using your pain points. It's marketing. It's nothing new. These social media activists are trying to get you upset and angry so you engage with their content, so you read their think pieces, so you read their articles and all this type of stuff. And I'm not saying we can't critique the system and we can't critique things, because we definitely can. But I just, at the same time, it just feels like just stamping everything performative and stuff. It's just like at some point, we're gonna have allies, or we're not gonna have allies, because at some point no ally is gonna meet your test, and it's just gonna be, and some black people aren't gonna meet your test. Nobody's gonna be good enough for you, and it's just like I've had my fill, because like I said, it's erasing so much of the care and concern, and I feel like that's another issue I have. Like, there are some whack white people and non-black people, but at the same time there's plenty of black and non-black people who care and who want to help to make a positive change. In fact, there's some non-black people who care more, because let's not sit here and act like there are black conservatives who will sit here and bash Breonna Taylor or George Floyd for a check. So it's like, miss me with the BS. Miss these blue check Twitter social media activists can go somewhere. These people, because it's like, how do you have a PhD but no common sense and logic? But I think a lot of this is echo chambers and, people getting incentivized and all this other type of stuff. I'm so over it. But before I go, I'm going to shout out my cover channel, A Pop Culture Sings, where I sing throwback R&B, contemporary R&B, pop music, whatever I'm feeling, whatever you're feeling. If you want to be down like Brandy, if you are down with the click R.I.P. Aaliyah, then definitely check that channel out, And if you enjoyed this video, then definitely like. If you made it to the end of this video, then leave a thumbs up emoji, or if you're on mobile and you don't have emojis, comment still here. Thanks so much for watching, and if you're having a good time, and why wouldn't you be having a good time, then definitely feel free to look to your left. There's a playlist of all my video essay podcasts. Look in the center, there's a button you can click if you would like to subscribe, and if you do choose to subscribe, if you wanna, then hit that bell so you're the first to know when I upload new content. And lastly, you can look to your right. There's a playlist of all my covers. And if you want to support me, if you want to support the show, my Cash App is linked below. Love y'all to the moon and back. Bye.